I would like you guys to get out your notebook and let's go ahead and we're just going to do one problem and then we're going to move on. I want to just make sure that you guys know how to do this. So you don't have to actually write this down, this part down, but I want you to get your calculator and see if you remember how to do this. We might actually end up doing 2 of these problems. But this is what the problems look like. Now, hopefully we are back in school by the time finals roll around. But this is kind of what your final looks like. We're going to do this about 5 times this year. You have to have a calculator. It's a state standard. You have to know how to use it. Again, send me a private chat if you don't have a calculator and you don't see yourself getting one. Now, number 1, I'm going to walk you through it without doing it on the calculator. I'll do it in the calculator first. But it said, use a graphing calculator to determine the regression equation and the correlation coefficient. Now, first question is, how do I put this data in the calculator? And I'm not going to say it. I need somebody to unmute yourself. Please tell me, what button do I press to put the data in the calculator? Try and remember from yesterday.
Stat 1.
So hit stat first, and then 1, edit. That's how you enter all of that data in the calculator. Next, I still have all my stuff from yesterday, so I need to clear this out. How do I go through and clear my L1 and L2?
You go to the top of the L1 column so that the L1 is like selected, and then you press clear.
And then the down arrow. So go up where it's highlighted to L1 or L2, hit clear and down. Okay. So I want you guys to take a minute and I want you to fill in the X's need to go in your L1, the Y's in your L2. Double check your work. We're only doing this once or twice and then we're going to move on. I'm going to leave it up here for about 30 more seconds, and then I'm going to switch back to my calculator mode. So it says regression equation, your correlation coefficient. Is it linear? What's the rate of change and what does it mean? And predict how many calories you will be burned if you walk for 30 minutes. Does anybody need me to leave this up any longer? Okay. So let me pin my video here real quick. I want to make sure that I'm going slow so you guys can all see this. And we're going to learn this about 3 or 4 different times this year. Hopefully, this is much easier to teach once we're in person. All right, so you guys can see my calculator, right? So all I've done is entered it in and make sure it says that's your L1 and that's your L2, or else this will be completely thrown off. Once I have that, I need to find my equation. It just takes doing this 3 or 4 times and it starts to become repetitive, the same thing. So again, we're dealing with data. Data are statistics, and you can find all of this in your stat button. So hit stat. Now, if I want the equation, I need to calculate the equation. We're not editing anything anymore, so I just hit the over button. So this is just an expectation. I do expect that you guys all get this within 3 or 4, and you've got the steps, so it takes practice. And I would just want to address that to everybody. Um, if you don't have a calculator yet, that's fine. Like I said, we'll go over this about 4 or 5 times this year. There you go. So, and thank you. Hold on one second. Let me respond to a chat here real quick. Okay. All right. So once you've got this, you go down to linear regression, and it's number 4, ax plus b. Again, if you've kind of forgotten this already, then go back and look at the slip. Make sure that says L1, L2 all the way through it, and then hit calculate. Again, the good news is you guys can always go back and watch this. You've got extra practice. There's a lot of things we can do, and we're only taking 35 to 40 minutes a day to do this. So if you need help, I'm here after school. So I know a couple of people have said something like, how can we do this after, how can you expect us to know this after only 3 or 4 examples? Well, we're doing the same thing over and over and over again. So if you want more practice, do it on your own and then ask specific questions, okay? Okay. Awesome. So make sure if you don't have a calculator, make sure that you guys are paying attention. You're kind of seeing where this is all at. So when you get one or when you've got one, this will make sense. All right. So from here, again, what this is saying is that top line is always going to be your equation. This stuff down here is what you plug in. Notice that says y equals ax plus b. Here's the a and here's the b. So for a, I would type in 4.259, which is really 4.26. And for b, 1.76. So back on that worksheet, if I share this again, where'd it go? I'll just do that. If I do this again, my regression equation is just, I can't type on this one, sorry. It's going to be y equals 4.26x plus 1.76. Your correlation coefficient is just your R value. So my R value is 0.99935 or 0.999. So here's what we learned yesterday. Based on your R value being 0.999, is that data linear or not? Well, what do you think? Yeah, I see some people shaking their head. Yes, it is linear as long as it's, and it's got a strong correlation. So again, I'm going to stop sharing there. What that means is if this is above like 0.6, now if the R is above 0.6, that means it has a linear correlation. That means it's going to make a straight line. All right, if it's below 0.6 and a strong correlation, strong positive correlation. If it were negative, it would be a strong negative correlation. And if it's below 0.6, like 0.4, 0.5, 0.3, then I would say it's a weak positive or weak negative. The R squared is just letting me know how close is this to being perfectly linear. Well, it's pretty darn close, 99.8% or 0.998. So it's very close to being perfectly linear. Now, the last part of this, and we're going to do one more after this, the last part of this was, let's make a prediction. So make a prediction. First of all, what's the rate of change and what's it mean for the problem? My rate of change was 4.26. Remember, rate of change is always your y's over your x's. That's how many calories you burn per minute walking. I'm trying to predict how many calories will be burned if we walk for 30 minutes. So if we walk for 30 minutes and that's our X, here's how we make the prediction. Go to Y equals. Clear this out. You could either just type in the equation you just wrote down or import it. I want to teach you to import it. So I need variables, which is bars. What do we want to import? Our statistics. So go down to 5 and hit stats. Then over to EQ. So we want the regression equation, and that's what that means. That was the exact same stuff we had back in stat. So it just imported that. Again, make sure that this stat plot, make sure that that's highlighted. And now we're ready to go. If I hit graph, oh man, but I don't see any dots. So how do I get the dots? Again, hopefully you guys are following that sheet. You hit zoom, 9. That's how we do it. So you guys can see that data is pretty close to a straight line. Now, if I'm trying to make a prediction, this is the hardest part to remember. I'm trying to make a prediction. I can just go to, again, you see in the blue, right above window, it says table settings. So it's second table setup. And it said, I want to know how many calories would I burn after 30 minutes walking. So I would type in 30 minutes walking. And the last thing is, once you've got that, bring up your table. So in the table setup, bring in your table. So second graph, and there you go. So how many calories would I burn walking for 30 minutes? About 129.54. Okay. Now, I'm going to give you guys more time than you probably need before I walk you through it. I want you to try number 2. There's number 2. There you go. Let me do that. Give me just 1 second. I want to be able to walk you through this. That's not for you guys, by the way. Where'd it go? I found it. Now I need to be able to put it on here. All right. Now you can see it. Again, I can only see about 5 or 6 of your guys's of your cameras. I see those people working. Everybody else, be prepared to be called on. I just want to check out, make sure you guys are doing what you need. Thank you. And again, I did tell you guys, I don't care if you have your your camera off or on. But when it comes to working, I either need to see you guys working or I'm going to call on you. Especially when I'm given time like 5 minutes to do this. I'm going to give you guys about 1 more minute here, and then I'll walk you through it again. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to go ahead and enter this data. So I am going to call on somebody. So Ian, real quick, if I'm trying to put in the data, my calculator's on. So you can't see this real quick. I want you to kind of help me with this. Man, how do I go from the table to anything else? Well, I could always hit second mode or quit, and that gets me back to the home screen. But if I want to enter that data, what button do I have to press?
Stat 1, right?
Exactly. So stat and then 1. Now I can edit or enter the data. So from here, I'm going to clear it. So clear down, clear down. So again, my X's are my months. So I'm going to type in 9, 13, 18, 22, 23. My hair length is 3, 5, 7, 10, 11. So my equation from here, once I've got this in, I want my equation for my statistics. So let's see, who do I want to call on now? Let's call on Mary Thompson. So Mary, if I want my equation, what button do I hit now?
I'm trying to fix my Wi-Fi right now because I can't really hear anything that well. Like when you talk, it's going in and out.
Okay.
I'm trying to fix my Wi-Fi with my mom right now.
Okay. Israel, if I want my equation, what button do I press? I know people getting put on the spot here.
You the VARS button?
Not yet. So that's only when you're importing it. So if I want my equation, I have to press this one again. So hit stat. And now what? So I already edited it. I put it in. So now that I want my equation, I wanted to calculate which one do I push here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9.
I guess 1.
So once I'm trying to calculate it, I want the linear regression. So it's number 4. All right. That's all right. So, and I'm not upset if anybody gets it wrong. I just kind of want to make sure that you guys are following along. If we were in class, I'd be over your shoulder checking this. we're not in class, so I've got to kind of do it this way. So you want the linear regression. By the way, everybody's fair game here. I'm not trying to pick on anybody, just trying to check in. So you should be good here by now. So if I hit enter all the way through, my equation is 0.556 is for my A. My B is negative 2.26. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and write that down. So let me go ahead and do this real quick. So my regression equation is just going to be y equals 0.56x minus 2.26. So if I share screen here with you, there's what I've got. That's my equation. My correlation coefficient is what the R value is. So my R value is 0.99. Does anybody not see this correlation coefficient on their calculator? Okay, so based on R is the data linear. So is this linear? And the answer is yes. How do I know? Because it's very close to 1. I could say, what's the relationship? And this is a strong positive correlation. What is the rate of change and what does it mean for this problem? Your rate of change is just your slope back in the equation. So this is all Algebra 1 stuff. The only thing that's new is using the calculator, and I get that. But what does that mean? It means change in y over change in x. It means my hair is growing at 0.56 change in y inches per month. So what's it mean in the context of the problem? It means your hair grows at a rate of 0.56 inches per month. So predict how long her hair will be in 36 months. So how long will her hair be in 36 months? This is the part that throws everybody off. I need to import this into my equation. So if I hit y equals and clear, let's see, Allison Smith, how do I import it? What button do I hit this time?
Isn't it? I don't think it's right because I'm
That's all right.
used to it. But is it variables?
Yeah, it's variables, which is vars. That's right. That is right. So you hit the vars. And what are we importing? Statistics. And let's see, Anna Charbonneau, what do I do from here?
I was just kicked off, so where exactly are we? Is this what we're gonna do?
Yeah,
equations?
so we're importing. I'll go back here. We're importing the equation in here. So let's see. Allison just said that. So Marvin, what did she say again? If I'm trying to import this, what do I hit? What button do I hit?
Vars.
Vars. And then I want to go down to what?
Statistics.
Yep. And then what do I do from here?
You go to equation.
Yeah, there we go. Oh, go to equation, hit enter, and enter again. Now, let me read that screen one more time. How long will her hair be in 36 months? So in 36 months, once I could graph it, but all I have to do is hit second table set in 36 months. Oh, but man, where do I go to actually get the data? I have to go to table, so hit second graph, that's your table. And after 36 months, her hair is going to be 17.77 inches long. Now, I tell you what, I'm going to scrap what we had planned for the rest of the day. And I'm going to have you guys, so we still have about 17, 18 minutes left. So why don't we practice this a little bit more? All right. Again, I see that there might be a couple people that have a Casio. If you have a Casio, some of these functions are even easier. But I don't know the keys and I don't have a Casio, so I don't know exactly how to use it. So you can take this time to kind of Google how do I, or linear programming in a Casio is what you should put. And it'll show you videos of how to do it. Okay. So here's what I want you guys to do with the rest of class. I want you to work on the next problem. I'll screenshot it and put it up. In just a second. Won't let me minimize my zoom. That's silly. Okay. Let me put it up, find the screenshot. Oh, come on. All right, I tell you what, here, I'll just share my screen. I don't know why it's not doing that. Don't you love technology? There it is. All right. So here's your next problem. So try it again. Make sure you can do this. Again, I'm going to give you guys about 5 minutes to do it. This might be our last problem. If you don't have a calculator, again, I know that's a long time, But just think about what steps would you take to do your calculator, on your calculator. Now, there's good news and bad news. The good news is on this stuff, you could always do this by hand. If you think that this is going to be pretty linear, you could just find your slope and write the equation. It's not going to be very exact, but you could always do this by hand. So even still, if this were on a test, you don't even 100% have to have it other than the correlation coefficient. But even still, based on the data, you could still kind of guess, is this linear or no? You could still do all of this stuff. So without a calculator, you could still get a 4 out of 5. It's going to take a lot more time and be a lot less precise, but you can do it. There are parts of this class that you cannot do without a calculator.
I have a question.
Yes.
So for the correlation coefficient, does the over 0.6 still apply even if it's a negative?
Yep. So over 0.6. So the correlation coefficient, that's a really good question. Let's go ahead and do this real quick. So I'm going to go ahead and type in my data. So I'm typing in the data by hitting stat edit. So let me type it in first. I want to clear it off. So clear down, clear down. So yeah, your correlation coefficient. Let me go ahead and pull it up. So I got 3, 7, 9, 17, 20, and I've got 86, 61, 26, and 0. Oh, 86, I forgot 50. 26, 0. Now it'll work. Okay, so let me share my calculator. Here's what I've got. So again, from here, even if you don't have your calculator, oh, gotcha. So on my calculator, again, once I have my data in, I need my equation using my stat button. That's where I enter the data. Now I need to calculate the data, and I want number 4, linear regression AX plus B. Hit enter all the way through, and there you go. So let's talk about what that means. Your correlation coefficient is negative 0.985, which means it is a strong, is it a positive correlation or negative correlation now? I'll go ahead and answer that here. But because it's negative, my R value is negative, and it's this value right here is over 0.6. It's got a strong, and whether it's positive or negative. So this has a strong negative correlation, which means basically my slope has to be negative. Again, what the R squared value means is how close is this to being perfectly linear? 0.97, that's pretty strong. So it's pretty close to being perfectly linear. Let's write the equation. So my equation should look kind of like this. Y equals, my slope was negative 4.58 x plus 95.94. Now we can talk about why this is good or why this is bad, but real quick, what are we talking about? I'm going to jump right down here. What's the rate of change and what does it mean for this problem? It's how much battery life you have left after X hours. So change in Y So this means you are losing 4.58% of your battery life every hour. What's the problem with this? So we can see it right off the bat. What might be the problem with this? What's that y-intercept mean? I need somebody to answer this one. No one?
I think it's because like the phone isn't starting at 100%, like it's starting at 95.
Yeah, that's
Is it
exactly right.
decreasing from them? Okay.
That's exactly right. And again, I am asking you guys to think a little bit. And again, a lot of you are having the same questions. I get it. In class, this would be so much better. But right now, a phone battery, well, you can only have 100% of battery. You can't have 105%. So one of the things here is your battery, your phone's only starting with 95.94% of battery. So this equation probably isn't great, which is part of why that R squared value says it's not perfectly linear. This is not a perfect linear equation. It's not a bad one, but it's not a great one. That's kind of what that's telling me. By the way, the R value was this, negative 0.985. So is it linear? Yes, but what's the correlation? It is a strong negative correlation, which means if we were graphing this, it has a slope. If we were graphing this, it looks like this. It goes from 100% all the way down to 0%. It has a negative slope. Predict the phone's battery life in 12 hours. So predict the phone's battery life in 12 hours. I need to come up to y equals. Clear it off. Again, how do I import this? This is the part that everybody forgets. How do I import it? Vars. What are we importing? Our statistics and equation. Said, what's my battery's phone life after 12 hours? The second table set, and x is 12. And how do I get it? It's second graph, that's your table. After 12 hours, it's going to be at 40.93%. Now, in the last few days, we've done about 5 examples of this, and it's the same thing over and over and over again.
How do you
I'm
get?
not gonna, oh, go ahead, yeah.
How do you get to that table like that, like you're on right now?
Yep. So again, if we want the table set up to make the prediction, we hit second and then window. So if I want the table, do you see up here right above graph how it's in blue? So if you ever want a secondary function, you hit second and then graph, and that's how you get to the table. By the way, let's say you have a complete, you just brain bubble and you forget how to do this. You could always just get to the table. If you forgot how to make the prediction, do the table setup, your table will usually start at 0 or 1. You could always just scroll down to whatever x value you want. So if I say, well, where would it be after 4 hours? Well, it'd be at 77.61. What about after 9 hours? Be at 54.68. So you could always just use the table. The reason I showed you the table setup is because a lot of times we'll say, well, where are we going to be after like 22 and a half? Well, 22 and a half isn't on here. Or what if I said, like, what if in 300 years, you don't want to scroll for 300, you could just simply do 300. So, and then bring up your table, and that's how you bounce to like 300. Okay? So everything I'm showing you here, it's really just setting you up on the front end before we really get to the heart of this, which isn't coming real soon. In fact, we're going to push some of this calculator stuff back as far as possible. But it is, again, it is an expectation, and not just by me, it's a state standard that everybody knows how to use this. Again, you can use these calculators on the ACT and the SAT. So let's teach you how to do this. Take some of that struggle out of it. All right. Everybody have a wonderful day. If I asked you to stay on for a minute, please stay on. Everybody else, you can log off. No assignment today. We're going to pick up. You will have an assignment tomorrow. This 2 days in a row, no assignment. Lucky dogs.
That's not going to happen very often, I have a feeling.
Mm,
Miss
not very
Bryan,
often at all. Maybe a
All right,
day
I'll
a
see you
week.
later today.
See you, Caden.
On my calculator, it says table setup.
Yeah.
But do I click enter from there, or what do I do?
Yeah. So if you're on the table setup and you type in like 12 or whatever you have, you don't even have to hit anything else. Now you can go straight to your table. So you can hit second graph and that goes straight to your table.
It's not doing that for me. I don't know.
Let's see. Who is that talking? Is that
Ian.
Ian? Okay. Sorry. Let me try and pin your video or find you. There you go. Ian, hold your
So I went back to here.
wait, let me pin your video real quick so I can see. Okay, so right there, does that
Yeah.
say L1 and L2? All
Yeah,
right.
I went back all the way.
Oh, okay. So from there, I want you to hit Y equals.
Okay. Yep.
All right. So let's clear that out real quick. Hit clear. I want to make sure that's, and then hit, so enter it again. Oh, your plot one's not on. That's why your plot one has to be on. So just scroll up,
Uh-huh.
hit enter, and then you can go back down to Y1.
So, okay, where do I go from here?
All right. Now hit vars. So I'll walk you through it. Hit vars.
Okay.
Go down to statistics.
Yep.
Go over to EQ,
Yeah.
and then hit enter.
I got 8 something.
All right, perfect. Now hit enter again real quick.
Mm-hmm. -4.
Okay. Yep. Now hit second table set.
Mm-hmm.
Type in, what do we want? 12? Was that what we put in?
Think so.
Okay. Hit 12 and then enter. So make sure that 12 is in.
Mm-hmm.
And then hit the second button and the graph button, and your table should be there.
No, it keeps saying error invalid.
Invalid. Oh, does it say invalid dimensions?
No, just error invalid.
I'll hit go to. So hit go to real quick.
Okay.
So down and enter.
Yeah.
So I can't read that. What's it say?
It just gives me.
Oh.
It just takes me to -4.
Okay, so I know what you did wrong. So go back to your stats and edit.
Okay.
Read off your L1 data for me.
Stat. Go to my.
Yeah, hit stat
Go
and
to
edit.
my
So
L1,
stat
L2.
one.
This is confusing.